Hi everyone, welcome to Outgrow's Marketer of the Month. I'm your host, Dr. Saksham Sharda. I'm the creative director at outgrow.co. And for this month, we're going to interview David Tabachnikov, who is the CEO at ScholarshipOwl. Thanks for joining us, David.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to begin with a rapid fire round just to break the ice. You get 3 passes. In case you don't want to answer the question, you can just say pass. But try to keep your answers to one word or one sentence only, okay?
Yeah, sounds cool.
All right. So the first one. How long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
2 hours.
Okay. Most embarrassing moment of your life?
Most embarrassing.
We'll have to pass. You took too much time.
Pass,
All right,
yeah.
next. How many hours of sleep can you survive on?
3 to 5.
Okay. Fill in the blank. An upcoming marketing trend is blank.
Creators and influencers.
Okay. The city in which the best kiss of your life happened.
Tel Aviv.
Pick one, Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey.
The first movie that comes to your mind when I say the word ambition.
Inception.
Okay. When did you last cry and why?
Oh, don't remember.
Past. Okay. The biggest mistake of your career.
Going to Google.
Okay. How do you relax?
Walks or video games.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Actually, can I change the answer for the previous one? Because that's not
Okay.
right. So,
How do you relax?
scuba diving.
Okay. How many cups of
That's-
coffee do you drink per day?
2 to 3.
Okay. A habit of yours that you really hate.
That I really hate or really hate?
Really hate, yeah.
Really hate. Taking too long in the morning.
The most valuable skill you've learned in life.
To diversify my skill set.
And finally, your favorite Netflix show.
Stranger Things.
Okay. Well, that's the end of the rapid fire round. You hesitated or didn't answer 3 questions, so we're going to give you 7 on 10. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the bigger questions now. The first one is tell us more about your company, ScholarshipOwl, and how it helps students. And do you focus on students all around the world?
So ScholarshipOwl helps connect between scholarship providers and students seeking financial help for their education. Our mission is basically to make private scholarships a viable alternative to student loans. Today, we focus only on US students. We are looking into to expand internationally eventually, but today 99% of our students are US based. But
what is? Oh, go ahead.
no, I just wanted to add that the cost of education is the highest in the US, so the problem is the biggest.
And is your website a subscription-based model or is it free to use? How do you go about charging students for this?
So, I mean, I need to go a bit deeper into what the platform itself is. And basically what we do is we leverage AI and machine learning and big data to substantially increase the chances of students to win scholarships. Basically like to lower the time it takes them to apply to scholarships and to invest their time wisely where they have the highest chances. And The platform itself is a freemium, so we have a free version, which is just kind of the list and matching for scholarships. And then all the advanced data, like how much competition do we have, how trustworthy the scholarship provider is, all machine learning based recommendation engine, all of those things are premium, and basically you pay a monthly fee for the usage of the platform.
Hmm. So, well, Scholarship Owl started working remotely much before the pandemic hit the world, right? So, did you feel like you've already prepared for what lies ahead?
Oh yeah, we started working remotely since 2015, and I must say that in terms of day-to-day operations in the company, we didn't feel a big impact on the pandemic, other than I personally had a few flights scheduled for 2020 that got canceled. But that's basically the full scope of the impact on day-to-day operations in the company. Of course, there's a big difference between working remotely and working in a pandemic, because working remotely is the ability to work from anywhere. But in a pandemic, you work only from home, locked in a room that maybe is not really prepared for that. And in many cases, many companies are not prepared to work remotely as well, because you need to adjust kind of your processes, the way you think, and so on. So for us, yes, we've been prepared, but I feel that many of the companies that kind of criticize remote work today are doing it, like because they had to work remotely at gunpoint instead of
Mm.
actually transitioning into it or doing it intentionally.
And how do you think COVID has impacted the education industry? We hear news coming out of the UK where, students are demanding a refund of their fees because the colleges weren't open, and that one of the key criterion is the experience gained while in college physically. So what do you think of that whole movement and about, how the education industry has been affected?
Right. So the education industry has been severely impacted by COVID. As you said, many students, in a way, feel cheated because some of the colleges charged full price, even though uh, most of the year has been remote, and they didn't get the whole kind of college experience. In some cases, they cannot use the labs, they cannot use the facilities, they don't see their friends. Like, it's a very different experience. At least in the US, a lot of students have taken a gap year or kind of delayed some of their education. And in fact, the attendance to colleges was much lower, or enrollment was much lower in 2020. I do anticipate it to recover in 2021, and once the world reopens, and maybe even overcompensate for 2020. On top of that, I feel that learning, like the world of education, wasn't prepared for remote learning. So when you try to teach remotely, you need to adjust the material. It's not just the professor standing in an empty classroom in front of a camera. It needs to be a more async way of learning. You need to have more helping material to kind of convey the information. And in most cases, that wasn't done because there was just not enough time to prepare. So even the students that did study in 2020 in a more kind of almost a normal way, I don't think that they could learn as efficiently as they would in a classroom, or alternatively, if the education system had more time to adjust to remote learning.
Hmm. Then what's your take on online education? Do you think it can replace traditional modes of learning? Do you think there's a university bubble that is going to burst or something, and that online education is going to make more inroads?
I definitely think that, like, the same way that there's almost no job today that cannot be done remotely. And I mean, I've
Mm.
met remote doctors, and I've met remote architects. And in fact, for example, in Israel now you have this. Like, I'm originally from Tel Aviv, and I just now last month I saw in Israel that they adjusted the healthcare system to have Zoom calls with a doctor and all that kind of stuff, like almost fully remote kind of doctor, like
Mm,
medical system as well. I believe generally the world is going towards making the physical location irrelevant. So you choose the place you're in based on where your friends are, where you feel comfortable with the vibe, and not just where you have the best infrastructure or your job is located. And as part of this transformation, I believe that education is going to go through the same transformation. More and more education is going to happen online and remotely. More and more work is going to be happening online and remotely. And in a way, 2020, the transformation to remote work many years forward in 1 year. Some even say, like we jumped 10 years in 1 year in terms of remote work. But on the other hand, such quick transformation also causes a lot of pushback, which is only natural. And I think that the same way we started seeing conferences and events transforming at first just being on a Zoom call, and by now we see platforms such as Hopium or Elmeet and other platforms which are already kind of on the product side thought out and designed to accommodate remote conferences. We'll start seeing more and more of that in education as well. And I mean, we had some kind of sample of that in with Coursera and Udemy and other platforms that teach you in a way, but it's still not as structured and organized like a university degree. But we're definitely going there, and I think that within the next 5 to 10 years we're going to start seeing the next generation of online education popping up.
But what do you think specifically coronavirus has done to the university economy itself? Like, because I guess universities provide something additional, which is like the ability to network, which I guess the online world cannot capture in its entirety. So I would assume that's one of the key benefits, is that they can provide this space. Is there any way you think that the online world can capture all these courses online, can capture what it means to actually make connections in university? Mm,
That's a very good question. Online education doesn't capture the networking,
mm,
and I think unfortunately it doesn't even try to capture that. Even the
mm,
platforms, the platforms I mentioned earlier, or even the new platforms that we start seeing now, they do not try to kind of create a networking effect between the students. At the same time, I start seeing the same way that in the in the work world, it used to be that most of your friends and like your most of the people you meet during the week are the people you work with. And once you start working remotely, that's no longer the case. The people you meet are the people that in your physical environment, or the people you meet in conferences, events, meetups, and so on, which are separate from work. And I think that eventually the role of education as a networking channel will become less permanent. I'm curious to see how things like fraternities and other kind of social clubs on campus would transform. Maybe it's going to be something like the co-living and co-workings we start seeing now. Maybe it's going to be something completely different. But anything that becomes remote kind of has this tendency to focus on its core goal and not on the secondary benefits, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think of, because I guess you said you're focused mainly on the US education scene, but we are seeing now in QS World Rankings, etc., that a lot of universities from China and a lot of universities from other parts of the world are starting to become places where people want to go to. So what is your plan for expansion? Are you going to expand into Asia? Are you going to expand into Europe?
Well, in terms of plan of expansion, definitely we will expand eventually to Asia. Again, it's not something that is immediate right now, but definitely something we are monitoring and looking into. One interesting thing I start seeing is that more and more US students are interested to go to universities in Europe and in Asia rather than the other way around.
And these are basically students in STEM fields, or is it science fields, or are they students in like literature fields? What fields are these?
I wouldn't say that I can nail it down to a specific type of degree, but obviously STEM fields have more of an incentive to go. I would say that it's actually more not STEM fields, because as a STEM student, you do want to be, at least for now, closer to the Valley and closer, to the high-profile Ivy League US universities. But one of the things we started seeing recently in general is that the Valley is no longer the Valley, with more and more people moving from the Valley to Miami and to to Texas and so on. So even the whole tech industry in general becomes global more than ever before. So yeah, we're witnessing the decentralization of thought in a way.
And what do you think of the fee structure? Because I guess it's increasing every year. Is it coming down with the pandemic? Like, the tuition fees of American colleges, is it affordable? Is it something that would still tempt students to attend university, or is it going to push them away?
So the universities themselves didn't do much to change it, including, as you mentioned earlier, that some students were protesting, and the fact that universities kept the same high tuition even though the classes are no longer on the facilities. There are interesting things that are happening, under the new government in the US, under the new administration, which in a way kind of make college a little bit more accessible. But I don't see it becoming kind of, it's not a major change yet. Maybe we'll see more of it down the road.
Fair. And what is the one thing that you have learned in your career was really important to, where you are with marketing Scholarship Owl today? Like, give us one tactic with which you are marketing it.
So before Scholarship Owl, I was in Waze, in Google. Before that, in a company called MetaCafe. I don't know if you remember that. It was a big competitor of YouTube many years ago.
I think so, yeah.
And one thing that I feel that I learned throughout my career, but I don't use enough in kind of, in my journey going forward, is leveraging the power of a community. Is having a more open and transparent communication with your users and letting them help you build a better product and go together with them. We are doing quite a bit of that now. In Scholarship Owl, we try to launch a community 3 times, and now the third attempt, I think, is succeeding. But we had two miserably failed attempts. And I think that we went in this direction too late. I think it's generally something that any product should, I'd say, that start a community even before focusing on paid user acquisition channels. I mean, should come both, but it's definitely something that can be better utilized, especially in product companies.
And what are some of the tactics you're using to create a community? Is it like Facebook groups? Where are these communities?
All right. So the most important thing is that you go where your users are. And we, for example, did that same mistake as we started with a Facebook group, and that was one of the failed attempts, right? Today, we have a community on Discord, which is, working with students. That's where they are naturally. An important thing is not to try to, to let the community kind of build itself, but push it forward as well. Have it, engage it, have competitions on, like things that are happening there, events. It's very, very important. And that's basically the fastest channel to see the reaction of your users towards your product. So.
Okay. So the last question we have for you is, what would you be doing if not Scholarship Owl? Like, what would you be doing right now in the world? Scuba diving somewhere.
Well, yes, but probably I wouldn't make scuba diving my full-time job. I would probably build, a solar project, because now is a perfect time to build like solar products with things like hosting and billing and marketing being so accessible. If you're building something at a small to medium scale, you don't necessarily have to go, raise millions of dollars. If you have the knowledge of how to do marketing and development and design and product, or at least even basic knowledge and all of those things, just go and build your own product. And then, if it grows, then you think about maybe building a team, but probably go this out.
Well, sounds good. So I guess we'll interview you in a couple of years about your new product, if it ever happens. But that's the end of the episode.
Hopefully a couple of years from now, I'm still in ScholarshipOwl. It's just, a much, much bigger company than we are now.
Fair. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us for this month's episode of Outgrow's Marketer of the Month. That was David Tabachnikov, who is the CEO at ScholarshipOwl. Thanks for joining us, David.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Do check out their website for more details, and we'll see you once again next month with another Marketer of the Month.